So the other day, we discussed Bill Maher coming out and admitting that he's going to have a meeting with Donald Trump at the White House. Trump and Bill Maher are both friends with Kid Rock. Kid Rock put this together and decided, I'm going to try to heal the country by bringing these two arrogant blowhards together. And so Bill Maher, we covered his commentary as to like why he's doing it. Suffice to say, it was fucking ridiculous and pathetic, all that stuff. Well, now we have our first explanation as to what went down during that day. It already happened, and we're going to learn what it would be like to be a fly on the wall in that meeting. And there is so much, this clip is just oozing with vindication for everything we said beforehand. Like, it's so clear that the purpose was exactly what we thought it was. Here we go.
Tell us what happened from start to finish in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds, I went on Bill's show, I went on his podcast, and I said, man, you know, nothing happens if people don't break bread together and meet face to face. He's been one of the president's hardest critics, and we came to dinner, me, Bill, Dana White, and it could not have been better. Everyone was so surprised, so pleasant. The most shocking thing to me was, you know, Bill's obviously a very big liberal, been very hard on the president, but he's donated a lot of money to other politicians. You know, you've had Biden, Clinton, Obama, everybody. He had never been to the White House, and the president was so gracious. He took us up to the private residence. We saw the Gettysburg Address in the Lincoln bedroom, and I was like, you've never been here, Bill?
So do you understand what he's explaining? What he's explaining is Bill Maher has donated to a lot of previous presidents, and he feels snubbed by these Democrats. Like, what? I gave to Bill Clinton. He never invited me there. I defended him on my show endlessly back when it was politically incorrect in the 1990s. Right? Barack Obama. I gave him a bunch of money. He never fucking invited me to the White House. He did an interview once with Bill Maher, but he never fucking invited me to the White House. So Bill Maher, donating to Democrats, defending Democrats, feels personally snubbed by them. And so what Kid Rock is describing is, hey, Trump let him in. It's his first time in the White House. This is a guy who Bill Maher hates Trump, and Trump was nice to him, sort of showing like this is Trump also feeding Bill Maher's ego and giving him permission, giving him excuse. Hey, go a little lighter on me, fella, right? Like exploiting interpersonal relationships and ego bruises in order to orchestrate the outcome that they want. The purpose for Trump doing this is to be able to say, look, even liberal Bill Maher thinks I'm not such a bad guy. Even he thinks I'm not, so why should anybody be against me? This is the point. This is nefarious. This is planned. This is nefarious. And the fact of the matter is what? If Bill Maher got invited to George W. Bush's White House, he would have said, I'm not going. There's nothing to fucking talk about. The guy did 2 illegal wars. The guy crashed the economy. The guy did torture. He's fucking evil. I got no interest, right? But with Trump, oh, now he's in his centrist era, right? Oh, the woke far left is so extreme with the stuff they do, bro. Let me hyper-focus on that. And oh, would you look at that? Bill Maher did just enough to get invited into the cool kids club, right? And watch, this next part is incredibly telling because it's exactly what I told you would happen. Ready?
And I was like, how about this? President Trump, you know, extending this olive branch and we talked about things we had in common, you know, ending wokeness, you know, securing the border. Right. You know, the president was asking him what he thought about policy, you know, going on with Iran and Israel and things. It just meant it blew my mind. It was, right. I was, you know, very, very proud.
So Kid Rock admits everything they talked about were things where they agree. So Bill Maher goes to the White House with a president who's literally currently shitting on the Constitution, ripping it up and lighting it on fire. No due process, no habeas corpus, round up innocent people, send them to a slave labor gulag in El Salvador. A president who's threatening 8 different wars, 9 different wars. We're going to steal Greenland. We're going to steal Panama. We're going to make Canada the 51st state. If they don't do that, we'll change the border and take more of their land. Go after Iran. Go after Mexico. Bombed Yemen the other day and bragged about it. Bombed Somalia the other week and bragged about it. Destroying the economy with his tariffs. Tanking the stock market. Massive Doge cuts, destroying Social Security, destroying Medicare, destroying Medicaid, destroying the social safety net, cutting pediatric cancer research. You got this laundry list of shit where Trump is an objective, horrific nightmare. And what did Bill Maher talk about in front of Donald Trump? Wokeness. Bro, aren't those pink-haired college kids with septum rings so fucking terrible, bro? Aren't they the worst, bro? Aren't they so censorious, bro? Aren't they crazy? Bro, did you know that a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl? Boy, girl, girl. Boy's a boy and girl's a girl. This is the shit they're fucking talking about. One more time. I want to hear the issues again.
President Trump, extending this olive branch and we talked about things we had in common, ending wokeness.
Wokeness, they completely agree, right? They completely agree on that. Oh, the far left is crazy. Oh, boys are boys and girls are girls and trans people are weird. Free speech on college. This president is obliterating the First Amendment and free speech in real life. Oh, the college kids are so anti-free speech.
Securing the border.
Right. Securing the border. I'm sure they were perfectly in agreement there.
The president was asking him what he thought about policy, going on with Iran and Israel and things.
Iran and Israel. Bill Maher's a colossal Zionist. Smears these college kids all the time who are protesting against the genocide and says they're pro-Hamas. So they talked about only the shit they agreed on.
It just meant it blew my mind. It was right. I was very, very proud.
I told you this was going to happen. We got one more. This is also incredibly telling.
2015, and he has been relentless, really, ever since.
Yeah, well, Bill, when he showed up at the White House, he'd actually brought a list of insults Trump had said about him and gave it to Trump. And what did he do? He signed it. Which is
it's all fun and games. We're basically like WWE characters, right? We're professional wrestlers. I say fucked up shit about you. You say fucked up shit about me. Here, let me sign my insults of you.
Trumpian, and they laughed and they laughed. Kudos to Maher.
They laughed. Ha ha ha! Nothing matters. Policy doesn't matter. The country doesn't matter.
He knows this is going to burn whatever bridge that remains with the tolerant left. But he said full steam ahead. And you got to give credit to Kid Rock. He went out on a limb.
Wow. I don't ever want to hear from Bill Maher. Oh, I haven't changed. The fuck you haven't. Are you kidding me? You supported Bernie Sanders in 2016. You were the leading voice, one of the leading voices against the Bush administration when you were based. Supported Bernie in 2016, based. By 2020, you were supporting Amy Klobuchar. Total opposite end of the Democratic spectrum, right? Way more conservative than Bernie. You already changed. And now you're Mr. Enlightened Centrist, where you spend either an equal amount of time or probably even more time beating up on the far left and saying, oh, you got to hand it to the Republicans. Meanwhile, this is the worst administration in our lifetimes, and it's not even close. They're making Dick Cheney and George W. Bush look like Noam Chomsky with how big of a fucking warmonger Donald Trump is. And his absolute obliteration of the economy, his obliteration of the Constitution, his obliteration of the social safety net. And Bill Maher is giggling along with him. Tee-hee-hee. There's an element here of like class solidarity. You know what I'm saying? There's an element here of like, look, we're both on the top of the hierarchy, right? Because no person who actually gives a shit about any of the actual policy issues could do what Bill Maher did here. I'd be okay if they met and debated, if you held him accountable and you recorded it and you released it and you made him look like a fool, right? I'd be okay if you get these people on the record and hold them accountable. That's perfectly fine. But if you're just going to, giggle and hold hands and sing Kumbaya and caress his cheek under the moonlight, what's the point of that? And people pretend like this is some acceptable thing to do. But there are plenty of scenarios I can give you where everybody would draw some line. Should you, hold hands and sing Kumbaya with a serial killer who murdered 34 people, skinned them alive, and then ate them? Or would you say, you know what? I'll pass on that, right? You don't have to go that far. Mussolini, Kim Jong-un, right? It's okay if you're gonna meet with Kim Jong-un and you're trying to make some sort of a peace deal. That's totally fine. But we're talking about sitting across from them and agreeing and not pushing back while they're in the midst of the height of their atrocities. You would say no to meeting with Mussolini. You'd say no to meeting with Hitler. You'd say no to meeting with some fucking massive serial killer. What do you have to learn? And when they talk about, oh, I meet with anybody, talk with anybody, bro, again, it only cuts in one direction. Bill Maher, in his fucking 87 years of being on air, has he ever brought on a communist or an anarchist, right? Has he ever done that? No. When they say it's, MAGA. Oh, we have to have conversations. So right-wingers, fascists, bring them in, hug them, don't push back at all, and pretend like it's normal. No, it's not. Again, if you care about the issues, if you care about the fucking issues, I'm fine with taking a meeting. I'm fine with, being across from right-wingers, but it has to be adversarial. If it's not, You are cucking yourself. And that was the point of this. They cucked you, Bill Maher. Now, you're a lot less likely, and they go on to say it in this clip, too. I think this is actually really interesting. Listen to this.
As a bridge between two quarreling people that he happens to be friends with, and that is sharing the risk at its best. And what do you do when you share the risk? It causes other people to share the risk too. So both of these guys had something to lose, but they put their egos aside because they realized there's nothing to lose at all once you put your egos aside. And because Kid Rock was able to take the risk, they all decided to take the risk. And I think they're going to win from it. The scariest part for a lot of people is finding out that Trump might be a good person, because you've sunk so much of your energy and your life into him being bad. So you might not want to meet him, because the moment that you have to relinquish any of that sunk cost, what's left? That's why you still have, and I think it's easier for Democrats. It's not, for never Trump Republicans, they can't let it go because their entire identity is wrapped around that definition of who they are. They go into a room with them, that sunk cost destroys them.
That's why I never want to meet AOC.
Yes.
It'll make it harder for me to ridicule her.
That point is actually super important. That's so important. Now that Maher met with Trump, it's going to be harder for him to criticize him, right? And also the thing about, look, interpersonally, I'm sure Donald Trump interpersonally is one of the most charming motherfuckers on the planet. That's not the point. That's not the point. The point is what he's actually doing, what his policies are, how many lives he's destroyed, how he's cut the social safety net, how he's warmongering, how he's ripping up the Constitution. Like, again, you could be the coolest, most down-to-earth, normal dude, and it doesn't fucking matter. And for these people, again, it's an elitist thing. He was nice to me, so... Oh, he was nice to you, so that gay makeup artist he sent illegally to an El Salvador slave labor camp with no due process. Mistakes happen, right? What is, it is what it is, right? The most elitist mindset that you could ever imagine. Right? The most elitist mindset. And people who agree with them would hear this and straw man means, oh, we don't even want to have conversations. It's not about that. It's not about that. As I said, I'm fine with meeting with anybody as long as you fucking debate them. Right? But if you're going to meet with them and you're going to fucking fall right into their trap and now it's harder for you to criticize them, right? I mean, you just cucked yourself. It's that simple. You just cucked yourself. And now they get to go, even liberal Bill Maher thinks Trump's a good guy, so anybody who's against Trump is obviously an extremist. That's the goal. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.